Hello, welcome to the 13th episode of the 9th series of the Temple of Surf, the podcast. Today with us is a journalist, photographer, and filmmaker, Sachi Cunningham. We discuss with her about surf film, surfboards, and much more. Hello, Sachi. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I'm at my home in San Francisco, looking across at the dunes of Ocean Beach and the Pacific Ocean.
I guess it's a nice view. Nice view to have, definitely.
Yes, I'm very fortunate.
Is it a sunny day or rainy day today?
No, it's a typical San Francisco cloudy, gray day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Typical San Francisco. So today we're gonna talk about many things. Of course, women surfing, big waves, surf photography, filmography. I don't know. I have so many topics to discuss with you, but it's good. I like that. But the first question I ask everyone on the show: in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
I mean, to have fun, I think. The
It's
most important thing. I mean, let me think about it for a second, but I think to have fun.
Yeah, when I received that answer, from a lot of guests in the show, I replied that it's not that easy to have fun. Sometimes, in the lineup, sometimes it's because we all have our problems, and they cannot stay at. And sometimes, talking with some of the pro surfers, they were like not having fun anymore. Sport was too demanding, and they could.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that. I mean, I think it's also, I think that's what everybody approaches the sport with, thinking that it's about fun. But then that's also some pressure that you put on yourself. Like my name, Sachi, it means happiness in Japanese. And so, I joke, it's like a lot of pressure to that I'm supposed to be happy or bring happiness because my name is happiness, right? And so I think when you're not having fun, then you get into this cycle of, doom and gloom of just, why am I not having fun? Or, of course, most surfers it's a sport against yourself for the most part, and so you just get competitive with yourself. And if you don't do bad, or if you, miss a session, or there's all sorts of other ways that creep into the sport that make it not fun. For me as a photographer and filmmaker specifically, I am often finding myself missing surf because I'm editing, the video, or I'm editing the photos, or I'm getting my gear ready, or I'm traveling, and it's those times that I'm just like not having fun. I'm just like, why have I chosen this path, thinking that, the dream would be to make a living off of surfing, but I can see why pro surfers, lose some of the fun, because when you put that pressure of making a living off of it and having clients to, please, all of that turns it into work. And I personally really like work, but work is still work. At the end of the day, work is still work.
Sadly, and you have all the pressure of qualifying or become like in the top whatever 10 in order to have sponsor, to keep sponsor, to so it's the word the answer, sorry, having fun is not that easy as it seems. It has a lot of facets, a lot of connotations on which we all surfer, we have to deal in a way and another, let's say. So
Yeah.
that's cool. And so, of course, you surf, right? Because it's not given, right? You are in the water, but you like to surf as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I usually do have fun, but that's another conundrum, I guess, that I faced much more earlier on, but is when I'm shooting, I sometimes wish I was like if I'm shooting and the waves are terrible and I'm just like, oh, I should just be surfing, and the waves just look fun size and they're not that spectacular visually, but I'm just like, oh, I should be surfing, or I'll be out and it's just gorgeous light and incredible waves, and I'm not a very good surfer, and I'm seeing like great surfing all around me, and I'm just like, oh, I should be shooting. So yeah, there's also that. But I think as I've gotten older and more mature and better at surfing, I enjoy the surfing for what it is, which is not work, which is ideally fun, which is something ephemeral that can't be ultimately captured and is just about that experience in being in the present.
Exactly. And it's a question that I ask all the surf photographers, because sometimes, as you said, you have in front of you, like, I mean, you do big waves photography, so it's also very dangerous. I don't know if sometimes I want to be in the place of, let's say, Bianca Valenti or whatever, I think I will leave this to them, but to the other surf photographer, let's say normal conditions, sometimes it's like, maybe I should have taken that wave, Well, kind of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's, well, it's true and not true, but I think it's a misconception that it's a limited resource, waves. I mean, what is a limited resource is time in our lives, So, especially with big waves that only happen a few times a year, if you miss those, it really stings for me. But, I have a family, I have a job, I have a career. You just have to, it's the path I chose. Well, and the path I need to live to, pay my bills and everything. And so you just have to make sacrifices in all of those areas at certain times.
Yeah, you have to pick your battles, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. And so, I love surfboards, and I'm very curious about the first surfboards of each one of us. Not the one that
Mm.
you learn on, maybe is if it's the same, but the first one that you really were dreaming about, that finally somebody gave to you. I don't know, your family, you bought it yourself. What was that? And if perhaps do you still have it or conserve somewhere, preserve somewhere?
Yeah, so my first surfboard that I bought was a Bear surfboard, and I bought it at Raglan in New Zealand, and surfed it while I was there and traveled home with it. And I'm trying to think of what year that would have been. A really, really, really long time ago. I mean, over 20 years ago. I don't, 25, 30. Oh gosh, I'm really old. So I don't know, maybe that was like 30 years ago. And my friend in LA still has it. She uses it.
That's
Yeah.
And you bought it because the of course Bear is obviously very famous for the cinematography. Is linked to the Big Wednesday. So you bought it
Mhm.
also because was related to that movie, or not just because you liked it and that's it.
Yeah, I was a combination, and I wish I knew the exact dimensions, but I don't. But I think it's probably around an 8 foot, like, mid-size fun board shape, kind of eggy shape thruster. I mean, I remember surfing it. I bought it because I was traveling with my family in New Zealand and wasn't sure if I'd be able to surf, but was able to I just took off on my own to Raglan, and there's a big swell hitting, and I just wanted to have a board to surf with. And so I still remember, I've never seen corduroy like that since. I've never seen waves that consistent and just stacked. And so I just remember scraping over those waves and scraping over and scraping over. But yeah, I think it's a baby blue with the red bear logo. And, it's just like a classic American, surfboard. It would have been probably better that I bought a local Shapers, but I think that was the one that was speaking to me, and the one that was, an entry level kind of board.
You will be surprised, but Bear Company is owned by Italians in Italy.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay, cool. See, I learned things.
I don't know how they ended up buying the brand, but Bear Surfboard is owned by Italians in Italy, in the north of Italy, and they license the shipping in Hawaii or somewhere else in the world. But yes, for what it is right now, it's Italian some way somehow, and of course, it's linked to Big Wednesday and an amazing movie. I mean, from surf
Yeah.
into that.
Well, and then the bear is also, our symbol on the California flag, and it was the symbol of my both of my universities. The mascot was undergrad and graduate were bears, so
Yeah.
I guess that was speaking to me also.
I'm sure there were some hidden messages, no subliminal
Yes,
messages.
yes.
Cool. And how did you start the love for photography? Was something that was always connected with the ocean, or you started outside the ocean and then you ended up into surf photography that ended up in big wave surf photography? How did it start?
Yeah, I think it started with photography. My dad was just a hobbyist in photography. He had a dark room though in our bathroom, that he'd set up once in a while. And so I'm sure that watching him shoot photos is what first got me interested in photography. And then and I had one of those little Kodak, I don't know, point and shoot film, like 120, I think, camera roll, cameras that I remember using when I was really little. And I remember conceiving of like projects back then, like having big high concept ideas back then of what I wanted to create. And then when I was 16, I got my first DSLR camera. And I think it was shortly after well, so I should backtrack and say that all along I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is by three rivers, but nowhere near an ocean. But I was a competitive swimmer. So, and my family's from Southern California. So every summer since I was born, we would spend 2 weeks at the beach in Capistrano Beach, California, near San Clemente. San Clemente. So that was my exposure to the ocean every year, and I absolutely loved it. And in high school, I think shortly after getting that camera, my dad was watching a documentary. This is back when shows come on and at a scheduled time, and that's it, right? You can't like look it up online. So it was just by chance that my dad was watching a documentary about Aaron Chang, the surf photographer, and so I was, Sachi, come here. I think you'd be interested in this. And so I came and saw Aaron Chang swimming in a wave with a camera, and I had no idea that that was a thing. I mean, I had never seen that before because I'm from Pittsburgh, and I just didn't even know that people were doing that thing. So to see my two love, and I knew at that point that I was absolutely in love with the ocean, and I didn't know how to surf, but I knew how to body surf and loved body surfing. I was riding mats also. So I just kind of watched and was glued to the TV, and then just kind of stashed away a file at the front of my filing cabinet in my brain, and was like, I'm going to do that someday. And so when I graduated from college, I taught English in Japan. And so I was able to save up the money I needed to buy my first camera. And I sought out a mentor at a surf magazine, a surf photographer, and yeah, was off. I bought my first housing and first cameras. They were film cameras back then when I was living and working in Japan in 95. And then in 96, 97, I traveled around East and Southeast Asia with a goal of visiting as many surf spots as possible. So I started off in Japan, in the south of Japan, and ended up in Indonesia. And this is back before Surfline, when you had to write to get these pamphlets called the Surf Report. I think that's what they were called. And they were little pamphlets of like, where to go. And so I was traveling with all of my little surf reports. And and it was really in Indonesia at Lakey Peak that I absolutely was hooked. Yeah.
Who was your surf mentor? You said in a surfer magazine, you said you had a mentor.
Yeah, is Nakajima-san was his name, but I'm sad to say I haven't kept in touch with him. So I'm not sure exactly what he's up to now, but he wasn't a water photographer specifically. He was more from land, but he certainly opened doors for me and just just kind of sharing the ins and outs of the industry and what makes a good surf photo. And he was just very kind and generous with his time. So, but I just I just got a magazine at the store and looked up who was in the, masthead and just started writing people, calling people.
How much a good surf photography, I mean, picture, is about good perspective?
Well, for me, it's everything because that's why I am so attracted to the water surf photography. Because I mean, it used to be it still is a unique perspective, but now with GoPros and, I don't know, Instagram, it just seems like there's a just explosion of people shooting in the water now. So, but back in when I started in the film days, it was not the first most accessible perspective to get. I've always been attracted to surf photography, not just for the performance of the surfing, but to try and get viewers interested in the ocean and the ocean environment and, wanting to protect that environment and inviting them into a space in a place that most people don't have access to, right? And don't have a perspective to see. And I think that beauty for me is breathtaking and something that I've always wanted to share with people who aren't able to witness that firsthand. So, it's everything. And then once you're out on the water, it's because of all of these water photographers out there now, it's about, like when you're at Pipeline and you're like there with 20 other photographers, it's all about, what is the angle that you're going to get that's different, or what is the shot that's going to be different, right? What are you going to see that's unique to other people?
Yeah, I love photography, and for a while I did concert photography. So and totally different photography. But yes, I see what you're saying. Like if you can be at the same place in the water of another photographer, but your picture can be totally different from the 1 meter next to you because of the perspective, because of the anticipation onto the surfer, where you plan is gonna move. And for me, it was like the same anticipation of what the singer will do on stage, and so yes, so it takes a lot of imagination, like to make a great.
Well, I should also say, I think perspective, I was just talking about physical perspective and like visual perspective, but I also think it's important. What I saw was a lack of a female perspective in surf photography and a lack of images of women surfers. So that's remains a big motivation of what I do, is that, I still am getting photos, I think, of women that other people, there's lots of other photographers in the water that are missing shots. And, whether that's intentional or not, doesn't really matter. If the, tree falls in the woods, does anybody hear it? Like if the photo doesn't exist, it's kind of, did it really happen? Especially with big wave photography, I think it's important for those surfers, for their work to be, for their rides to be documented. But also with the big wave photography is the other part of this perspective, is just that power and energy is unique, I think, and something that isn't documented as much from the water. And so like Ocean Beach, that is my home break in San Francisco. Matt Warshaw of the Encyclopedia of Surfing told me that I am the first person, male or female or non-binary, that has photographed Ocean Beach from the perspective of the water that has been published in Surfer Magazine. So I had the first photos that were ever in Surfer Magazine of Ocean Beach from the water. So Thank you. That's my little claim to fame, but it does make me happy that I can bring that perspective because it's magnificent.
Of course, and as well, there is a whole topic. In fact, again, my mind now is running into a different direction.
Good. I like doing that to people.
Exactly, but because yes, so being there and having your photo and your achievement is very important. It's very important also from women, not only women surfing, but it's women in general in the surf culture. Let's put it that.
Mhm.
And as well is very interesting the whole concept of shooting big wave. Or we're gonna go into all these topics one by one because otherwise I start to do mistake. But I had this experience. I interview. I don't know if you know her, Lauren L. Hill.
Yeah, she's great. She interviewed me along with Dave.
I interviewed
Yeah.
her, and she gave me a great perspective on women surfing, and as well commitment. We talk about also how woman surfing is portrayed in Instagram, let's say, bikini. So we go back to the old 70s, 80s style, also by women themselves, on which is another topic. Yeah. And we discuss about, like the impact on the achievements that have been done woman for woman by woman surfing. If you think about the movie Women Can Surf.
Oh yeah, women can't surf. Girls can't surf.
Girls Can Surf.
The Australian one. Yeah.
It's like shocking, yeah. And so I had the opportunity as well to interview also many surf photographer women and shapers as well, and the topic is like already saying a woman shaper, I had this comment once, is already how do you call it, segmenting, is a shaper, not matter if it's a woman or a man, is
Yeah.
no matter if it's a woman or a man,
Mhm.
but of course there is the need of space, and to create space in order to bring forward the battles, to win battles, to have achievements. So wow, I tried in a very difficult space, to say like it's unbelievable what is happening in surf for women today. I'm not talking only about equal pay, that is the easiest thing to say, but for instance, when I talk with a woman shaper, the support that a woman are giving to other women, and the fact that they prefer to buy from a shaper that is a woman than a shepherd that is a man. And this allow more woman shepherd to rise, right? And it's so fantastic, because is again, for me, is creating a big space into this surf culture industry that a part of the Hawaiian or Polynesian of centuries ago has a relatively a small amount of years, like maybe 50 years. And so we can ask sure he's the he's the guy that is a super expert. Anyway, going back to surf photography, just for a while, I have a very stupid question, but it's very
There are no stupid questions.
it's very stupid from a perspective of a photographer, but maybe is not that stupid from a perspective of a man and woman of the street. I don't know how to say in English, like a common people. Today we see a lot of photography, surf photography or not, made by iPhone. Okay, nice camera, iPhone, very quick. And then there are the professional surf photographer. Sorry. Obviously, there is equipment that makes the difference. This, but what else than equipment makes the difference between a photo that we can all see in a good photo that you can see in Instagram and a photo taken by a professional?
what's the difference between just kind of anyone taking a photo with an iPhone versus
taking
a professional?
Good photo with an iPhone, or
Yeah.
like a camera, just like say, and a professional surf photographer that takes with, of course, professional tools, and of course the
Yeah.
definition, the quality, whatever, obviously is bigger. In your opinion, is there a difference, or no, apart of the technical equipment?
I mean, honestly, I don't want to be like digging myself a grave professionally. But yeah, oftentimes there is no difference. I don't think the average person looking at a photo would necessarily know the difference between a great photo taken, with an iPhone and a great photo taken with a camera. I don't know that the average person would necessarily know the difference. The iPhones are so good these days. Zach Noyle did those photos for iPhone with that were incredible. One of them was on the cover of Surfer's Journal, I think, right? So I think it's not about the technology. I mean, so I think the technology has basically caught up for the most part. That said, I still shoot with a Canon 1DX Mark III. I could be shooting with a Red and get frame grabs from that. That would be very good. But I personally still think that a still frame from the highest end photo cameras are better quality than frame grabs from most video cameras, But, some people, I don't know, I think that's also changing as more and more people are just getting used to seeing frame grabs rather than still photos. But I think what one would hope, or what I would sell myself as being able to bring, is that perspective and that experience and the knowledge of, who the surfer is, what is a critical part of the wave, what is that decisive moment that makes that drop. So, the airless drop from a big wave, so spectacular versus, and how I'm framing it, the composition. So I teach journalism at San Francisco State University, and I teach photography. And so, I talk about the 3 Cs. It's not anything I've made up. It's just, you can Google it, but it's color, composition, and content. So composition, how you're framing it, color, meaning light. And so how you're, and that light also, a lot of people are doing a lot of stuff with Photoshop these days, and AI, I should add, so, but all of that is still kind of what the artist is bringing, and the photographer is bringing to that image. I think it's still, it's additive and coming from the mind and vision of that artist. And then for me, the most important is content. So that's like the story, like what is the story that this image is telling? And if you can, I think the greatest surf photos are the ones that transcend surfing, that anyone looking at them can understand, like can see there's a story there. And so for me, that's what's so attractive about big wave surfing, and particularly women surfing big waves, is that I think anyone walking down the street, if I show them a picture of Bianca surfing this 60-foot wave that she surfed at Mavericks a few weeks ago, would just be mind blown, and mind blown just looking at it. And then if I tell them it's a woman, they're like doubly mind blown. And I think that changes the way they think about not just female surfers, but just women worldwide, right? That it opens up a door for them of what women are capable of. So it's the stories, it's the pictures that say 1,000 words that are, for me, the ones that's what interests me the most, is when I find a picture and then I see them in, even, like, I'm a professional photographer, but even in my own photos as I'm editing, when I see that image, I know it, immediately, that like, this is the one, that is everyone's going to get, and it's telling a story, and it has those 3 Cs, but and a great story.
We arrived to the point of which was my stupid question about, it was, being an artist behind, it's just like, then just a photographer, because now we are invaded, we are I don't know, like we have Instagram that is showing us photos every single day, and for men that doesn't know, each photo it can be done by anybody, right? But when we go to the artistry part and artistic part, and as well, the respect of a profession that is the one of photography that is in danger, because of the technology, because of the budgets that are not there anymore, because of the evolution, of the modern surfing tools. So I'm very happy that you use a Canon. This is not advertising, because actually I use a Canon as well when I do photo. And it was one of my questions. It was not Canon or Nikon, because in concert photography, a lot of people use Nikon because of the definition of the the photography. But of course, what I learned from now over 150 episodes of of the podcast is that Canon has a better lens choice, right? So
Yeah, and that's why I've stuck with it for most of. I started out with both Nikon and Canon, but I've invested in the Canon lenses. So yeah,
and once you invest, there is no way to go back.
unless you're rich. Yeah.
Unless you're rich.
Shem-
Yes, of course.
No.
Yes, yes. No, I definitely, that is another story. Okay. So I interview Bianca Valenti, and I asked her at a certain point, what does it take, to surf big waves, huh? And actually, I don't remember exactly what she told me. I think she told me commitment or something like that.
Mhm.
What does it take for you to be there with her? Because we know for her, it was okay. It's like commitment going, being air, let's say. And for you, you are there in the middle of the big wave. So it's a risky environment, What
Right.
does it take for you to do a good big wave photography? Woman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Bianca likes to say dedicate, don't hesitate. So that's probably maybe what yeah, that commitment to going over the ledge. What does it take to be a big wave photographer, or to
What does it take to be there in the wave?
be there? Probably being a little crazy and irrational. Probably a lot of confidence. I know that, yeah, it's, it takes confidence in your physical abilities, your mental ability, and your ocean knowledge. It's all of those. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it takes all of those. And then I mean, I think it also for what I find interesting about and what attracts me to big wave photography is there's also a huge element of like that you're out of control. I don't mean out of control like I'm flying all over the place. I mean, like there's so much you can't control. When you're a surfer, that's the thing you can control, right? Is whether you take off or not, whether you dedicate or hesitate. You can control that. But as if you're already down there at sea level with your head bobbing, the only thing, the wave looks a whole lot bigger from down there, by the way. And so like you can't control, I mean, obviously we can't control how big the wave is. We can't control when the wave comes. And, with smaller waves, you can control where you are on that wave to a degree, right? You can swim, depending on the direction and how fast you kick, you can be in the right spot when that person's going through a barrel, right? Especially if it's at a point break and it's breaking almost the same spot every time. But with big waves, you can more or less be in the right spot. And, the more experience you have, the more you'll be in that right spot. But then a huge rogue wave comes and it's like, there's no way you're ever going to be able to swim fast enough to, get out of the way or get in that perfect position for the barrel. It's just not possible. So you just have to accept where you are and just relent. And I mean, and that's what I like, is that you just have to like give up that control. And then what you do have control of is how that composition is, how you frame the photo, what you choose to look at. A lot of times it's whether you choose to, for me, it's like, how long am I going to hang on and look through this camera before I dive under? Like, what is that? And I like playing with that line of how long before. I've never, knock on wood, I've never had a wave smash the camera into my face. That would, of course, be the biggest danger, but it's figuring that like timing, of how long you're going to stay. But definitely my best photos are the ones where I've seen a gigantic wave and I'm terrified and all I want to do is swim under and dive under. But I'm like, this is why I'm here. I need to stop for a moment, frame the photo and snap away because this is what I love. This is why I'm here. I want to show people what this looks and feels like. So yeah, I kind of like having some of that control taken out of the equation because it just forces you to grow, I guess. And again, back to the perspective, it just forces you to figure out a perspective that is beautiful and will tell a story.
It's an adrenaline story, right? Not only for the surfer, but also for you. And obviously, we cannot control the ocean, we cannot control the currents, we cannot control the waves, many other things. And so, yes, I agree with you. Accepting it, allows you, also to not to panic, allows you to do your job. I mean, in that case, to take a picture. Leave the moment, because again, I guess you are happy when you will be back on shore, right? And you see your pictures, but as well you're living the moment, and it's a beautiful one.
But it's that surrender is the word I was trying to think of earlier. But it's just the forced surrender that you have to accept out there. It's humbling, that's also part of what I love about surfing and big waves specifically, is just how humbling it is.
Exactly. So let's move to big wave surfing for woman big wave surfing, so since you are a specialist on the topic, so many things have changed, of course, if we think about the Eddie contest, for instance, was open for women for first time, amazing. And maybe if we look at the pipeline master, again, fantastic competition, and fantastic waves, and then of course, actually I have a split question. Of course, I want to talk about the movie, right? But before that, in Europe, I want to ask you what there is more to achieve in women surfing, or in the specific in a big wave women surfing. What is the next step in your opinion?
The next step is more competitions, more 1-day competitions, 2-day competitions, more. What I think what you've seen at Pipeline now that we're going into our 3rd year of women competing there, 4th year, 3rd, 4th year. Anyhow,
yes, plus or minus, right?
Pardon?
No, there are the COVID years that are plus or minus, so we don't know which.
Yeah, right. That all of our memory is just is warped. But I think you can agree that watching those contests and the women competing in them, that the level has just gone up massively each year, right? Of the women's ability at Pipeline, and that's mostly because that's 1-day contests allow just 4 or 5 women to have an hour to just themselves to surf that wave. And so that's like, whatever, 5 to 10 waves they're getting. I'm making that number up, but it's a significant number of rides that they're getting to practice their craft and practice learning that wave that they absolutely would not have when there's 200 other guys that they're competing against to get that ride. Right. And so we need that time. Women need that, court time, so to speak. They need that time on the field. They need the time with just themselves. And I believe in competition and the value of competition. And I think it's valuable for women to compete against other women, for it not to be against other men. Sure, you always play up to the competition, and I'm sure they'll do that much better. I mean, Moana Wong was on the winning team of the backdoor shootout, and she's a great example of someone who does play up to the competition incredibly well. But I think women's sports writ large, but especially women's surfing, it's still at its infancy, really, in the kind of longer history of competitive surfing. And so not obviously the history of the sport, since it's the Hawaiian Queens were doing it, in the very beginning, but in terms of competitive surfing, it's relatively new that women have had this space to practice and to get better. And so for big wave surfing, I think it's the same. Right now, we have mostly online competitions for big wave surfing. The WSL has the contest at Jaws. They have the tow contest at Nazare. There was supposed to be a contest at Todos this year that didn't run, but so there are some opportunities, but I'd like to see more opportunities, and that goes for women and men. I think I think they need to, just big wave surfing in general could use more competitions to give the surfers that space and dedicated time to getting the best waves of the year to themselves, to get better.
I think it was Lauren Hill that told me, Alessandro, we need to work on the visibility because more we give opportunities for women to perform in waves, big wave or no big wave. I mean, depends on the sport, depends on the tournament. More we give opportunity to inspire other women. Consider that. Why not? I can try surfing, right? Why not? I can try shaping. Why not? I can try surf photography. Why not? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a man's sport. It's a man-woman sport. It's and then it's open to everybody. So I think I had it was such an inspiring interview. I think visibility will allow also new generation to start. Imagine China. All the new surfers that can come out from China that are relatively not known for surf. But also for instance.
Well, visibility, what Lauren said about visibility is exactly also what I'm talking about with the competitions, is just that's also a dedicated time that people on shore are watching. People are, nowadays with the live broadcasts, it's going worldwide, so the online contests are also, you could argue that the clips are also going worldwide on social media, etc. But I think there's also a lot to be said for the people on shore watching. I mean, I have been to, I went to the first contest for women at Puerto Escondido that Bianca won, and the crowd just went wild. I mean, so it's just and those are everyday people. They're not necessarily surfers that are getting to enjoy and see what she and other women can do. But and that's why I do the photography, is the visibility, right? So I agree. And culturally, I mean, that's also, so I worked on a film called Surf Nation, which is about the Chinese Olympic surf team.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. So I think philosophically, it was really interesting for me to think, because I've spent some time in China, and just, to think how, okay, if this sport really takes hold, how much it could change the culture,
No, but there is an Italian guy. His name is Nick Zanella that wrote a book called Children of the Tide. And he's going through China, the monastery, mainly monastery, whatever. And he discovers that, according to his finding, now my Hawaiian...
Yeah, that it started there, right? Surfing, they were surfing floors. Is that what you were going to tell me?
Yes, but we have to we say it quietly, because otherwise Hawaiian and Polynesian, they will be like, or Peruvian, they will be like, no, we started first.
Or African.
Or so
Yeah.
yeah. So I say it quietly. So according to his finding, and it's a very interesting book, in effect, and done with a lot of research, and
Mhm.
yes, so it's China. China might be a good surprise for all the surf community and surf culture around the world. So we give it, but very. I didn't know about you shooting that movie. So that's great. I will have a look definitely. So
Yeah, it's called. So what's the name of the book, though? I want to write that down.
Children's of the Tide.
Okay, I'm sure the filmmakers. I was just a camera person. I did the water cameras work on it, some of it, but
And he's
I'm
a
sure they read it. And I remember them. I mean, they went to go shoot the tidal bore there because of this story of that it's always been there. But culturally, communism is not really about individual thinking, right? And individual expression. So to have those two, in the same person, to be both is going to be an interesting evolution.
They would definitely. So SheChange, because I know I'm cautious of the time and I don't want to take you forever. I'm having actually a great fun, but part of that I hope likewise. But
Definitely.
SheChange. So how you come up with this idea and where
Mhm.
it stand? Because I know there is like crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah, we haven't done crowdfunding yet. I'm hoping not to, but we'll see. I'd never say never. But I started it 10 years ago when I was covering a big wave gathering, a gathering of 13 women at Mavericks that were invited there by a woman named Nico Sell, who was running the contest under her company, which is Wicker, which is a messaging app. And she works in tech and she lives in the area and knew about the Mavericks contest, was wondering why there weren't any women and was like, well, maybe I want to do something about changing that so that there are more women. And she wasn't able to get an official contest on the books because there's only one permit that's issued each year for a contest. So she had an unofficial invitational event, multimedia event, where she flew everyone in and she made sure that the prize purse was bigger than the men's because she thinks that I think rightly so. She just thinks they deserve more money because they're like diamonds, they're more rare. So they should be worth more. So she brought all these women together, and I was there covering it for Surfline and the San Francisco Chronicle, our newspaper here in San Francisco, and for a movie called It Ain't Pretty. And so it was my first. I had been working with Bianca at that point, had just started, but I had not met all of the women that had gathered there that day. And it was the first time that I swam in the water in the lineup at Mavericks. So it was a first for me on many fronts. And it was just electric and magical. I think all of the women there, we had all existed as kind of these satellites, the onlys in our respective parts of the world. Justine Dupont was there, Emily Erickson, we were just kind of like, there's one woman doing it here, around the globe. There's like these one. And it was the first time that many big wave women had come together.
Okay.
I think ever history of the sport, I'm going to say, because and so that just, we all knew that was extremely special. Sarah Gerhardt was there, Savannah Shaughnessy, Jamila Starr. They're the three women that first surfed Mavericks. And so I, at the time, was not looking for a documentary project, a long-term documentary project. I was finishing up another called Crutch, about a dancer who has a hip disability and does a hybrid of breakdancing and skateboarding, which you can watch on Apple and iTunes and Discovery Plus. But I was finishing that project up and did not want to take on another documentary. But when I was looking at these women, and I had been covering big wave surfing specifically for almost 20 years at that point. I did a story when I was on staff at the LA Times called Chasing the Swell that was about men chasing swells, because that's all that existed then, were surfers chasing swell from Hawaii to Mavericks to Todos. And it also happened to coincide with the first Big Wave World Tour for men. So that was in 2010. So I knew the big wave community and the sport really well at that point. And I also knew that this was a first, that there had been a sprinkling of women in that time, but never a critical mass like that. And so I knew I was swimming in the story of my career. It was everything that I had worked for my entire life was like right in front of me. And, I just had to press record and, start documenting. So, and I focused immediately on.
Was too big, right? The temptation was too big.
Yeah, you can't unsee things, right? So, so I almost immediately focused on the 4 women in the movie, Calla Kennelly, Bianca Valenti, Paige Alms, and Andrea Muller, mostly because they were just clearly the best, and they blew my mind. I had seen a few women surfing throughout those years, but nothing that I really saw moving the needle too much, but to see them surfing Mavericks for the first time, just fearlessly and just as good as any of the guys, it was just like, oh my God, like they are going to change the sport. Like, this is it. It's happening, so get ready. Like I'm along for the ride. And to my great joy and surprise, I guess not too surprising given who they are and their personalities, but they not only became an immediate friend group, those 4, but they eventually joined to form this Committee for Equity in Women's Surfing. And that group is who lobbied for equal pay and, equal representation, and ultimately is what turned the tide for the World Surf League to create equal pay for all of surfing. So yeah, so it just, you can't, the best documentaries and stories are the ones you can't even think to write yourself. So this was one of those cases that it was just better than I had imagined. What I guess has not necessarily been better is the long road of getting it made, because documentaries take more than you just pressing record on your camera. They take hiring editors and, raising real money to pay professionals to and create a team to work with you. So the fundraising, especially as a female filmmaker, I would say has been challenging, but we've done it little by little. Where I have an editor and assistant editor working full time, and I have enough money raised to keep them going. I'm hoping if I can continue the fundraising and continue the pace I've been able to maintain, I'm hoping we'll have a film by the summer. It's going to get done this year. It's going to happen this year.
Yes.
I've said it.
Yes, we count on that. That of course will be a great moment. I would continue for a couple of hours, but no. Fortunately for you, unfortunately for me, because I'm a very curious person in life. But
yeah, me too.
But what to do? I usually finish the interview with 6 quick questions. So please ask.
Okay.
First thing that comes up to your mind. So,
okay.
Best surfboard that you ever rode?
It's my Andrini Serena. That's a single fin 7.6. It's in my backyard. I call it Peaches. It's colored peach. Peaches, aka the butter stick.
Okay.
That's my name for her.
Thank you for sharing.
Mark Andrini is the shaper. He's local.
Favorite shaper of all time?
Gosh, I mean, I don't think I necessarily have one yet, because I'm too busy shooting photos. So I haven't had the luxury of working closely with one single shaper. Okay. But someday, I guess personality wise, I'll go with Lyle Carlson because he's a friend.
Okay.
And I have one of his guns, and yes, someday I'll surf it at Mavericks, I hope. But
good plan.
I like his yeah, he's just a good guy and a friend. So, and I'm just really proud of what he's done. So go with Lyle. The elephant, you know those boards, you know that story, and you know the story about the board that was lost at sea and traveled across the world, and somebody found it, and then they returned it to the original owner. I'll have to find the story, but yeah,
Wow.
Lyle's awesome. He shapes Emily Erickson's boards and a lot of legends. So
You can write a book from that, you know, or
yeah,
a movie.
yeah.
Now I give you another idea. No. Dangerous time. Okay, personal question. Your favorite song or kind of music?
I really like hip hop. I guess Alien Superstar is a Beyonce song that I really love.
Okay,
It's
good.
it's over a year old now, but I still love the song, the lyrics. It's just about being unique. That's what you are, Alien Superstar. Yeah.
Favorite surf spot?
I'll go with my home break, the beach,
Okay.
also known as Ocean Beach.
You have it in front of your eyes.
It's like, or as Bianca says, Ocean Bitch, because it's really not usually a great spot, but I love it for all of its highs and lows and challenges.
Okay. I like that. Favorite woman surfer of all time?
I'm gonna have to go with Bianca.
But you keep all your friends next to you, huh?
I guess so. Yeah, I'm not venturing too far from my
Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble. So
immediate circle.
No.
No, but you know what? Leah Dawson, I freaking love her lines, and just she's someone who I'm just in awe of her. Lauren Curran, I really love her surfing. Yeah, and then Zoe Chait is another local person close in my circle, but she's been surfing Mavericks, and I just love her attitude, and I just can't wait to see what she does. She's 17 now and already charging Mavs and fourth in the world, and nothing's stopping her. So
I like that. And the last question is a little bit unusual. I ask everyone on the show, and please don't tell me why I come up with this question because I don't remember. I want to know your best relationship advice.
okay, I'm going to backtrack. Chris Amore, also, I want to put on my list of my favorite female surfers because I love her style also, but I also love what she's doing in the industry. And she's always just been such a great entrepreneur, and she's like an incredible spirit, both her and Leah. So, but okay, go back to what is the question?
Your best relationship advice.
For surfing or just relationships in general?
Actually, everybody's telling me that. So I say it can be friendship, it can be romance, it can be anything. Relationship advice. And please don't ask me why I came up with that because I don't know. But now 150 episodes.
Well, do you need some? Do you need some relationship advice?
Not myself, I hope, but it's good to hear, because I think this question is kind of it's moving away from surfing, goes back to you as a person, So.
Okay. Well, I guess I was going to say loyalty is what came to mind. So then that also means I have to put all four of my women in that. See, now you're making me like, I have to say Bianca and KK and Andrea and, Paige. I mean, and Felicity. I mean, there's so many that I love their surfing, but Laura Aniver and Felicity are also just, all of them. All the big wave women are blowing my mind. So if I'm forgetting your name and you're listening to this, I love you all. But so my relationship advice, I guess, is to, I guess you can't be loved by all, but but I guess I was going to say loyalty, but I think what that also comes down to is patience, and is like patience, because I've had enough relationships, not a ton, but I've had some important relationships in my life that have almost ended or had periods of real conflict. But I think all of them I've over time I stay loyal and I have faith, I guess, to have faith,
Okay.
trust, and patience, because I'm old, and so I've had the great pleasure of living long enough to know that if you give it time, usually if the love is there and the respect is there and the loyalty is there, things will come back together again. You'll remember why you loved each other in the first place, right? And the other stuff will have hopefully made you grow together.
I totally agree with you. Thank you, Sachi, for being on the show with me today, and I look forward to talk to you very soon.
Thank you. Yeah, come visit us in San Francisco.
Whenever I'll be there, I'll give you a call. Thank you so much.
Please do. Okay. Ciao. Bye-bye.
Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!